I just replicated everything inside of Ali Abdaal's VoicePal application inside of N8N, and here's why you probably shouldn't do that yourself. I'm gonna walk you through my entire journey here. This is gonna be stream of consciousness, so stick around if you want. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Kamo. We do practical AI advice and demonstrations to help you become a badass with anything related to AI. So let's dive into this, shall we? So step one, if you're not really familiar with this, Ali Abdaal has an app, it's called VoicePal. And honestly, it sounds so amazing. I encourage everybody to go try this thing out. I've used it on my phone for about a week to try and see if I could make this work. It's a content generation app that allows you to kind of voice to text while you walk around. That's my favorite thing in the world, walk and talk. And it then allows you to like customize it for your voice and your target audience and the target output you want. Like, do you want a newsletter or a YouTube video or just an email or whatever? And it's awesome. So I tried it out for a week. And here's the deal for me, because I'm a control freak, I needed more control. My biggest criticisms with the app, why it wouldn't work for me, is that I could not provide it my already very detailed analysis of how it will talk like me, how to create content in my voice, nor could I give it super detailed information on my target audience. I had to provide examples to it of my writing or examples of my target audience, and I had to rely upon its analysis, which frankly broke all the time on me. So that wasn't really good. But the formula of this, take information that I talk and then ask me questions about it, because that's another big piece of the VoicePal app, is once you give it content, it will prompt you with additional questions to help refine those thoughts even more, which is super dope. So I just said, okay, we're going to make this thing the old fashioned way. I'm going to follow the advice of the internet and say, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to make an automation of this. And look, I spent a lot of hours doing this. If you want to know if this was worth it, stick around to the end and I'll let you know. So here's how we did this in the get-go. Very first thing that I'm going to recommend anybody does, go voice to text what you want. And that's exactly what I did. I basically said, I want to create an N8N workflow, but here's what I want to be in it. And I just voice to texted it on my own. Now, I did use my brand new Nota, which I'll talk about in a later video, but whatever. And once I had that voice to text description, I think this is a 4.5 minute voice to text description of exactly what I wanted. I basically just said, I'm going to describe the VoicePal app, but the controls that I want at the level of depth that I want. And then I went to Gemini and I ran deep research. And I said, figure out the flow inside of N8N that I would need to make in order to have this functionality. And then I let that deep research run and created an audio overview too, because that's pretty dope. And once I've got that now, if you analyze this output, it gives you super detailed information on exactly how to do this end-to-end with configuration examples and features and all kinds of, this is pretty in-depth. I'm like a third the way down on this scroll, okay? It even gave me detailed JSON information. But hear me out, everybody. The creation of JSON is so difficult right now to get right with any AI tool. It's constantly broken JSON. So just take that deep research, export it as a PDF or whatever you want to do. Then I went over to Claude. Claude, especially Opus 4, is the best understand what you want to do in JSON and in N8N LLM that exists today. Full stop. That's truth. I've done this a lot all day, every day for weeks. This is the one you want to use. And then give it your deep research and the original transcript of what you wanted to accomplish and say, output me a best practice guide that is an existing JSON configuration example that I can just upload into N8N, okay? Then it'll give you a bunch of JSON, as you can see here. But again, the hit rate that this JSON is good and ready to rock is very low, like 20% that you can even import it up into N8N. And if you do, oftentimes what I ended up, this is for the first version that it gave me. Nothing's connected, nothing's configured. All these things are sort of like there, but why they're there is really weird. The sticky notes that it created for me, because I always recommend you have it make you sticky notes for instructions, were sort of like weird and didn't really follow where this is exactly how it came out. So then what you do is do something like go over to Cursor, make a new JSON file inside of Cursor anywhere you want. And if you're not familiar with this, Cursor is a IDE that allows you to integrate with AI. So you can like point it at your ChatGPT account or your Gemini account or whatever, and it'll like AI up your code. So I just dropped in this JSON and literally, can you help me fix the errors in this JSON file? That's my only prompt. And this has an almost 100% hit rate at fixing the JSON. I don't know, technically why this is good or so much better than the AI tools, but it is. This is what you want to do. And then once you have this figured out and you've actually got really good JSON, you can re-import. And instead of this broken thing, what I ended up getting is this, which now at least has connections. The sticky notes actually are in the right spot and talk about important stuff that has to happen. But it is a little complicated. And frankly, I tried to configure this in another copy of this upload, and it just like didn't work. Now, it's close, and it gives you like brainstorm ideas on what you should be doing here and some general ideas on how you can do the logic that you want. And then I basically just started small. I said, I'm gonna do a really basic, like step 1, manually input the text, manually input my target audience information, generate me questions that they could have. And I just extrapolated this out over and over again. And over the course of like 5 hours over 2 days, brace yourself, I did make something really amazing. And this is it right here. This is a fully replicated version of VoicePal inside of N8N. How it works is I take a voice note on my Nota, and then I just copy that voice note and throw it into a form right now, an N8N form. You could do this with Slack or like 1,000 other ways. You could do 11 Labs voice interface, whatever. But I want the most low friction, record on device quality transcription that I can with the simplest effort, where I can literally just like leave my house with this thing and walk around with it, and it works. So again, low complexity input. Then let's walk through this real quick. I gotta zoom quite in. Oh, sorry. So it takes that form submission. I've automatically programmed in my target audience information. This is like 20 pages of PDF text that I put in Markdown. And then I have it generate me questions. And I'm using Gemini to generate those questions with a fallback of ChatGPT. And then it sends me an email back, because N8N has this great feature of send an email and wait for a response with the Gmail module. And it basically says, here's 5 questions that we think could enhance this. And then I just click the little response button in the email again. So while I'm walking around, I can do this. And I can just voice to text back into that. Or I could whip back out the Nota and record myself talking once more and then copy and paste that in there. And again, this sounds a little like clunky, and it is for now because I'm just getting started, but it works really seamlessly, and there's very little errors that can happen in this process so far. So again, that's the last point where I am involved as a human. Everything else that you're about to see is automated and like well done. So the first thing is I just have an AI tool that combines the original voice to text and the additions that I may have added in there. And if I don't have any, it just ignores it. And then once it does that, what happens is it'll do an internal name. It summarizes everything I said and just gives me an internal name for consistency, like the title of the article that I would write on this or whatever. And I tell it 2 to 8 words, and it generates that. Then I've trained it on exactly how I talk. This again is I think it's 12-page instruction manual for exactly how to talk like me and write like me for social content. And again, that's trained off my voice, so it knows how to speak like me. And then things happen. So the very first thing is I write a LinkedIn post. So it comes up, and I have some rules from a person whose topics and feedback I really enjoy on how to make good LinkedIn quality content that like isn't salesy and doesn't suck. And so I've programmed in those rules. Again, very complicated, like multi-page instruction manual. And then it generates me a LinkedIn post. And then once it has that LinkedIn post, I score it. I've given it grading criteria on what is good and what is bad, and it gives it a score. And if that score does not get at least a B, it's got to get 80 out of 100, it fails, runs down through an error incremental counter, and then rewrites it with the feedback that came from the scoring engine. So we're talking like, hey, generate a post. See if this meets my criteria for what is good. If it does, dope. Just go ahead and tell me that it's the LinkedIn post, clean up the HTML for a nice looking email, and then send me that email. So the draft hits my inbox in like a minute or less. But if you didn't pass my rigorous grading criteria, here's some feedback on why, rewrite it. And it'll cycle through that 4 times. If it does it more than 4 times, that's a failure, and it'll error out so I don't just burn credits, for hours while this runs. After that's done, it makes me a carousel example for use on TikTok or Instagram anyway. And again, there's some very specific rules for what makes a good carousel. This is pretty Boolean for me as far as is good or is not good, so I don't have any retry logic in here. And I've commented out or just gotten rid of this HTML cleanup because I've improved the HTML output of this carousel writer. So that's done. And then it's like, okay, I need to make short form content, which is just in my voice. So again, it started in my voice, was trained on my voice, generated in my voice, and now I'm going to record the video. I'm not using like an AI avatar or anything like that. I want to do it myself. I like being that human in the loop. So it makes a video script. And then again, evaluates that video script. Does it hit the points that I care about? If yes, great, just email it to me. If not, do that same retry logic. So with one set of voice to text and with my target audience information, it generates me questions. Those questions are then sent back to me for feedback and to ignore or to record more. And then it makes a LinkedIn post for me in my voice, reviewed through my criteria. It makes a carousel that I can use on TikTok or IG, again in my voice. And it makes a short form video script that I can use for Instagram, YouTube Shorts, or TikTok, or whatever it's going to be. All from one input. And I can just add more in here if I want to be like, make a newsletter for me or send an email to whatever. All that's possible. So let's wrap up here for just a quick second, okay? Should you do this? No, you should not. This was a lot of work, a lot of frustration, a lot of me banging my head against this keyboard to save $9 a month or $80 or $90 a year or something. If the out-of-the-box software works for you, please just use VoicePal. I like Ali a lot. He does incredible work. Like, that app is cool. I know exactly why he built it, and he did it to give back to the community and to help others. Like, kudos, dude. Like, super plus plus. But if you want a lot more control, this is a great little paradigm in how you can do that. And look, this is all I do now is I work with my community to build things like this, to showcase examples. There's a much deeper dive of this inside of my community if you want more than just this version. But this is fun. And just remember that, like, you have to know a lot about these automations. You have to try and do projects like this over and over again, and you will get so good at it. So just happy building out there. Draw me a comment down below if you think I screwed something up in here. If you were looking at this and you go, oh my gosh, that is terrible, you need to fix that. Drop it. I want to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and follow along. And don't forget to follow if you want to have more information on all this kind of stuff. I'll see you around.